Real esoteric spirituality without all of the fluff, without all of the nonsense. This is the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. Click subscribe and then hit the little bell button so that you can be notified whenever I've uploaded a video or when I'm doing the live Q&A videos. Hello, Thunder Wizards. So, as you can see, I've narrowed everything down. Instead of having a million links, I really just have one. Courses.thunderwizard.com, and thunderwizard.com is obviously what this channel is, the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about something that is, I get asked a lot. And it's interesting because my mind doesn't go there anymore. It hasn't gone there for a long time. But it comes up a lot in questions in many different forms. And the question basically is, if we create our own reality, then why is there so much evil and suffering in the world? And it's usually one or the other. Some people focus on evil. Why is there evil in the world? And some people focus on suffering and disease and all that other stuff. So I could launch into that right now, but before I do that, what I want to do is I just want to read a couple of questions that have come to me since my last video. You know, and the video that I spoke about yesterday was about success and prosperity, but at some point, I don't remember when, at some point I must have talked about how everything is our own projection. Everything is our own reality, including whatever suffering you may be experiencing. And the point of that is not to make you feel like an idiot, but to make you feel empowered, like, well, if I'm the one creating the suffering, then I'm also the one that can create the way out of it, instead of waiting around for something to save us, okay? So let me read those questions. There was a couple of them. There was one. Hang on a second. I got it. So let's see. There was one here. Red Tonka asks, if everything outside of us is our projection, and we are the God/creator of our life, what happens on the spiritual level when many souls project/create horrible experiences at the same moment. I mean, like the Holocaust, okay? So short is, if we create our own projection, then she says, what happens on a spiritual level? So she's asking, how is it? She might be asking something else, but she asks, how is that? How does things like the Holocaust happen if we're all creating our projections? What is going on there? So let's see. There was another question in here in the same video, and NA says, scary question. Can people who do horrendous things be doing so in their greatest joy? So what he's referring to is, what I teach is that there is only one commandment. There's not 10 commandments, there's only one commandment. And that one commandment is that you must follow what gives you the greatest joy. We would call that your destiny. Some people might think of it as God's will. It is the way you know that you are following this destiny that you have, God's will, if you want to use that term, is that when you think about it, it gives you a tremendous amount of joy. And that what I teach is that all suffering, all challenge, poverty, illness, everything you can imagine is a result of us going against what our soul wants us to do. And I'm not making light of it. It is the major issue in human life. That we must face this challenge of following our soul, being true to our soul, or trying to live to please other people, please religions, please society. And this is the conflict that we live with. And at some point you will have to make decisions that will feel like, I'm separating myself from the crowd. If you want to use the Christian religion, Jesus says you have to be separate, all that kind of stuff. In the world, but not of it, right? That is actually, there's some truth to that. At some point, you will have to make a decision to follow what your soul is telling you to do or fit in some way. So, based on that, he says, can people who do horrendous things be doing so in their greatest joy? Murderers, serial killers, etc. It disturbs me to think about it. But can a contract be done between our souls for these horrible acts to be committed? And if so, how does that help the universe evolve? And I responded basically by saying that his question didn't make sense, that think it through. There's no joy in causing people harm. And he responded back, and he said, it's actually a fear of mine that I wouldn't be able to get around the possibility the universe could need horrendous things to happen, and that those things actually helped it evolve somehow. And so he goes on to say that this is something he thinks about a lot, and that he actually wants to teach the answer about all this. And anyway, I won't go into all of it, but those are the questions. And this is really just an extension of the question that we have going on in religious circles, which is, if God is all loving, then why does he allow such horrible suffering? That's one. The other one is, if God is all loving and all powerful, because that's, all loving and all powerful. If God is all powerful, why does he allow all of this horrible evil in the world? Why does he allow good people to suffer, innocent people to suffer? It's really coming from the same source. So I want to take a look at my notes here to make sure that I follow a coherent thought pattern here. So let's talk about, well, first let me dissect the religious argument here. So as I do oftentimes when I'm going to do a video, is I will do a little bit of research into the question. So I typed in the question, why is there evil, on YouTube? And of course, the vast majority of the videos that come up are religious in nature. And usually it's going to be fundamentalist Christians who are answering this question. And, just out of curiosity, I had to watch a couple of them. And one of them basically said, well, that's free will. In other words, God gives you free will, and it is your choice when you do evil. That's, God is letting you do that. So God's not going to stop you. He didn't really answer the question about what people are really asking is, why does God allow that evil person to harm me? That's really what this is. So no matter what, both of these questions that were asked of me, when I responded, both of the people said, I'm not really talking about myself, I'm just thinking about it. But then I say, well, then why did it come into your mind? Because it doesn't come into my mind. I don't think about that at all. When I think about creating my reality, I'm only thinking about creating the wonderful reality that I want to have, and how I can improve that, how I can improve myself so that I can create my own reality. Maybe I'm just selfish or self-centered. But I never think about that. That never pops up in my mind. And in one case, the guy says it really bothered him. It really bothered him that if we create our own reality, then is evil something that's necessary in the world? And, and he's really thinking about it. So I have to say, even though you say that this really isn't about me, I'm just curious, I have to say that it is about you. This is just my opinion, take it or leave it. And again, we talk about, on this channel, we talk about the conscious and the unconscious. And the unconscious, a lot of people, when they use the word subconscious, they really mean unconscious. Subconscious is something else. But we're talking about the unconscious. The unconscious, the deepest levels of your mind, which you are not consciously aware of, which makes up the vast majority of your mental powers. In fact, your entire reality is created on the unconscious level, meaning you are completely clueless. That's why if you say to people, you are the creator of your reality, people go, that's ridiculous. Of course I'm not the creator of my reality. There's only one God, and he creates it, and you're not God. They're completely clueless. They're totally unconscious of how they create their reality. So it makes sense that you wouldn't be aware of things in your unconscious. Now the rest of us, we can see your unconscious plain as day. There used to be a word which I haven't heard in years, but it used to be a phrase called latent homosexuality, which really meant somebody who had homosexual tendencies but was in denial about it. And so we called it latent. But another word would be unconscious, that they had this this proclivity within them, and they, because of society or whatever, had pushed it down and were in denial, and maybe they had convinced themselves they weren't, but everybody else says, we can feel it. And then, they end up doing something later on, and how did that happen? That's not who I am. I've got a wife and kids. And it's unconscious. You're not aware of it. But the thing about the unconscious is that it always surfaces. You can't escape it. So if when I say to you, you create your reality, if the first or one of the first things that pops into your mind is, well, then why do other people create so much damage? Why is there evil in the world? It means that on an unconscious level, you see yourself as a target. And I'm not judging it. That you should have that awareness that, there are people out there with evil intentions, and, this could happen and that could happen. I mean, there's a reason why, I live in a certain place as opposed to other places. You don't want to live in a dangerous area. That just makes sense. You don't want to do things that are dangerous. You don't want to have dangerous people in your life. By the way, while I'm on the subject, I have to vent about a pet peeve that has recently occurred or arisen for me. So what has been popping up on my feed on YouTube are videos about narcissism, specifically about how to deal with narcissistic people. And so there'll be videos about how to win an argument, how to put a narcissist in their place, how to, with one word, completely destroy a narcissist argument. And my first thought is, what the hell are you doing even interacting with narcissists? If you know that somebody is a narcissist, then why are you even interacting with them? The answer to all those questions is get them out of your life or get out of their life. If you're not familiar, narcissism, we're talking about the psychological definition of narcissism. And the psychological definition of narcissism isn't somebody who's just wrapped up in themselves. I'm pretty wrapped up in myself. But we're talking about people who are we're talking about psychopaths. That's really what they mean when they say narcissist. We're talking about a psychopath. Somebody who does not have the ability to empathize. It's a problem in the brain. The brain isn't functioning correctly, and they don't have the mental capacity. This happens a lot with kids who are severely abused, and it's very common among kids who grow up in orphanages. When you don't have the proper interaction as an infant and a toddler with a parent, and the touching and the communicating, that part of the brain never really is stimulated. And there are more than a few serial killers who were abandoned as kids, as infants, who were orphans. I could name a few, and you'd know who they were off the top of my head. I can't think of them, but so narcissism is and this is when we think of evil, we think of narcissists. So anyway, it bugs the crap out of me that there's all these people who clearly have this major codependent, problem, and they can't separate from whoever the narcissist is in their life. And instead of realizing that this person can never, ever give me what I'm looking for, and I'm going to leave them, instead of doing that, they have to figure out how to beat them at their own game, and it drives me crazy. Anyway, so this is what we're talking about when we talk about evil. And so that maybe it's because I think along those terms, because it's very cut and dry for me, and I'm like this in life. When I interact with somebody, or I become friends with them, or I create a relationship, I am gauging their character. Not like, are they a good person or a bad person? I am gauging their character to ask myself, is this person capable of having a two-way relationship? And so you find out, like if somebody's a serial cheater, or if somebody is a liar, or if somebody is a manipulator. You find that out within the first 6 months of a relationship. And so if I come to the conclusion that somebody is, damaged beyond a certain degree, then, it's nothing personal. I just, I extricate myself out of their life, because they're never going to be able to give me what I'm looking for. So it doesn't make any sense to me why people choose. I mean, I understand it. I know why they do it, but ultimately it's a waste of time. So let's get back to the question here. The question of why is there evil if we create our own reality? So this comes into the question of this is another question I get a lot, which is, if I create my reality, if I'm the creator of the universe, then is everybody in the universe just a bot that I've created, or do they create their own reality? And if so, do our realities clash? It's an understandable question, but it's coming from a very black and white kind of thinking. This is usually asked by younger people. Like teenagers ask this question a lot, because that's where they're at. Their brain is still developing, and they're learning how to have relationships and take responsibility. They're not a child anymore, but they're not quite yet an adult. And so this is kind of where their brain is at. But it represents that. It represents that black and white thinking. It's either me or you. And so If I'm creating everything, how can that person be creating everything? That kind of thing. And it's because we live in a hologram. We don't live in a two-dimensional universe. We live in a hologram. The reality is, right now, if you are watching me, I am your own creation. You have manifested me. And there's a part of you that had this question. And as you created your reality, you created a potential resolution for that question. There's a part of you that wanted to learn. You created me, and here I am, a talking head on your computer or on your phone, telling you about what you were thinking about. I know this from personal experience. I said this yesterday, that oftentimes when I do a subject, people will write me and say, I was just thinking about that yesterday, and saying, I hope the Thunder Wizard talks about this. And then you did the next day. Well, it's because you thought that. You created that in me. I mean, I'm not so narcissistic to think that I'm not being influenced by your projection. I am being influenced by your projection. I ultimately have the say over what my projection is. As it turns out, I want to be able to attract as many viewers as possible. So on an unconscious level, I'm seeking out what the questions are so that I can, create a successful YouTube channel. So we have this interdependence here of our projection. So it's not a black and white thing. But if your first thought, or one of your major thoughts when I say you create your reality, if one of your major thoughts is that, well, then why is there evil in the world? Why is there suffering in the world? What happens? It means that there is a part of you that still feels limited and still feels like a victim. And again, I'm not judging you. Please don't take this as a judgment. I'm just revealing it to you. That's what your question tells me. And that's okay, because, listen, I've been doing this, living this path of shamanism for decades. And I came out of a right-wing fundamentalist, I was a Christian preacher. I used to go on the street and preach. I went to seminary. I was going to be a minister. I wanted to have my own church. I wanted to be a, what do you call those? An evangelist. I wanted to be like one of those big TV evangelists and then, convert everybody to Christianity. So it took me years of deprogramming myself from the cult of Christianity. So I wanted to, forgive me for bouncing around, but I wanted to talk about the religious answer to this. As I said, I was watching people's religious videos to this question. And there was one that stuck out in my mind because it just reminded me so much of what it was like when I was in that born-again Christian world, and the intellectual mazes that have to be created. All of the major hoops that you have to put yourself through intellectually to make Christianity make sense. And so somebody was explaining that somebody had asked him that an atheist, because this is the big thing, Christians want to fight against atheism. And the thing is, atheists are just closet monotheists. We won't talk about that, but they are. They're just they're unconscious monotheists. So that's why Christians love to talk to them, because they're very easily manipulated into monotheist types of thinking. So he was talking to this atheist, and the atheist had asked him this question: if God is all loving and all powerful, why is there so much evil and so much suffering in the world? And so he started taking him down this path, which, by the way, this is what Christians will do. They are brilliant at manipulating the conversation and keeping you in their dualist thought patterns. They're brilliant at it. There's a whole section, there's a whole study of Christianity called apologetics. It comes from the word apologize. But it doesn't mean to apologize. It means to defend the faith. And so what they're really good at is messing with you on an intellectual level to keep you in their black and white thinking. And then they force you to a certain conclusion. And so this guy was saying, well, do you believe, since you're asking me about evil, you must believe that there is good? And the guy says, well, yes, of course there is good. So then you must believe that if you believe there is evil, you must believe that there is good moral standards. Well, yes, of course, there are good moral standards. Well, if there are good moral standards and moral laws, then there must be a moral lawgiver, and that is God. And therefore God, and so the whole question of why is there evil in the world turns into this, here, let me manipulate you intellectually into admitting that there is a God. And these are all straw man arguments, all of them. Because the truth of the matter is that if we take the whole God thing out, because that's an assumption, you assume that there is one creator out there who is in charge of the whole thing. Most people are programmed to think this way. Even if you're not religious, our modern Western society for the past 2,000 years has been operating from this assumption that there is one creator that's running the whole thing. And this is what atheism is all about. Atheism is, well, I don't like this Jehovah guy. He's mean. He puts people in hell. I don't like it. But since I can't imagine there being either a different deity or multiple deities, because I can't understand that, I'm just simply going to reject God altogether and say there is no such thing as spirituality. Which means that they still believe in the one God, they just don't like him. This is the basis of much of the atheist thinking. You don't find this thinking in cultures that are not based on that assumption. When you deal with cultures that are based in a shamanic understanding, which is we deal with this natural world that has multiple consciousnesses, nature and the sky and the animals and the stones and the blah, blah, and that we live in a world that is not black and white, meaning it can be multiple things. That yes, you had a dream last night that you talked to the land spirit that and the person who lives in a dual reality says, well, that's not real, it was just a dream. But for people who live in that, they say, yeah, I really did it, and yeah, it was just a dream. And they're okay with that. So when you deal with that, this whole idea of why is there evil is not really a big question. It's more like, well, yeah, we're all in this thing together, and there's all different kinds of energies here. By the way, that's what shamanism is. Shamanism is the balance. A shaman is an individual who acts as a conduit between the spiritual realm and the physical. And all of the rituals and the things that a shaman does is about creating that balance. When it comes to illness in the body means that there is some imbalance, some emotional, psychological, spiritual, physical imbalance. And so if we can restore the balance, we can restore health. It's the same, it's the assumption that drives everything. So if you find yourself thinking about evil in the world and suffering in the world and making the distinction between that, it's because you're still unconsciously operating from this dualist perspective, and you see yourself as a target. There's a reason why I chose this picture here. I chose this picture for a reason, which is because the little kid in there who's in this empty, horrific, post-apocalyptic world, this is what I'm trying to point out, that this is how you see yourself, and you project it. Like if you have feelings when you look at that and it strikes a feeling in you, it means that you're projecting yourself into that picture. This is also, by the way, a big why. No, I better not say that. I'm okay with upsetting people, but I don't want to upset too many people in one video. We'll focus on one category of people at a time, which is the religious people. Okay, so let me see if there's more things that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, so I'm happy to take your questions. Let me see if I need to make a little spiel about how to work this channel. Oh my gosh, there's like no questions here. We've got 35 people. So you're either all very respectful and rapt in attention with what I'm saying, or I'm boring the hell out of you. So anyway, I'm going to get rid of this right here. I don't know who this is, but this guy's going away. Okay, so all right, so if this is a question and answer, so if you have questions, here's what I'd like for you to do. I'd like for you to ask, write the word question, and then ask your question on there. And it can be about anything that I teach. So while I wait for that, I'm going to take a little bit of a break here, and we'll talk about a few different things, and then I'll come back. What first caught my attention about Celestial Qigong was how incredibly simple and easy to do the moves were. My teachers taught me that the most advanced high-level energy work was always incredibly simple. I have been practicing and teaching Celestial Qigong for over 25 years, and listen, I could tell you what the benefits have been for me, but why don't I let you hear it from some of my students, average people just like you, who have been practicing this ancient and transformative energy practice that I call Celestial Qigong.
Hi, my name is Antonia, and I want to start with emphasizing that I'm not being paid for this testimony. I felt the benefits of it after my first session. But what really blown my mind was how powerful this practice is. Was one night when I was really sick, I caught a flu. I couldn't breathe, I was tired, I was fatigued, my bones were hurting. And after I was finished with my clothes done, the sickness was gone. I was no longer feeling tired or sick or fatigued. My bones weren't hurting anymore. I could breathe. I was energized and super happy, and it was like magic. It really was.
Hello, I'm Greg. I wanted to talk about Celestial Qigong and what it has done for me. And the first time I did it, and I think after about 3 or 4 movements, I remember this look on my face going, whoa, I'm feeling a lot of energy here. Wow, this is amazing. It really helped me to start having visions. I mean, I'm talking about actual visions right behind my closed eyelids. And it's just really amazing what it's done for me.
Hi, I wanted to make a quick video of a testimony of my experiences with Celestial Qigong, which have been nothing short of miraculous and amazing. It is a peace, a union, the ability to manifest what I want, that I am in true total control of my life.
Hello, my name is Maclovia. I have been practicing Celestial Qigong for about 6 months because I was having depression. It has connected me to my higher self. My 9-year-old does it with me, and he says every night, Mom, Qigong was good tonight.
Every night, me and my mom do it. It's like a protection spell. Yeah, I just want to thank you. This has really been good for me. Thank you.
All right, so we're back. As I said before, I have gotten rid of all of that list of links, and now I just really only have one, which is courses.thunderwizard.com. So if you're interested in the Vedic astrology, if you're interested in runes, if you're interested in shamanism training, apprenticeship, any of the things that I will eventually, at some point, based on people's questions, throw out. All you have to do is there's only one page you need to go to now, courses.thunderwizard.com, and that will have all the links there for all of the services and all of the teachings and all of the materials and everything like that. Okay, so let's see if there are any questions. Jason Guerrero says, question, is it possible to consciously discuss the, quote, more challenging, unquote, realities some people experience while being fully unconsciously empowered and in the awareness that I am safe? If I understand your question, you're asking me, is it possible to discuss these things without indulging in unconscious fear and self-sabotage? And of course, that's exactly what we're doing. So yeah, just because you discuss it with other people, again, I need more. I'm not quite sure I understand. Let me see. He says more here. Referring to my previous question, or do those challenging subjects simply out of one's reality as they continue to? Do they simply go out of or fall out of one's reality? Well, yeah. I mean, that's my experience. It's not that I'm unaware. I'm really quite aware of a lot of things, and there are a lot of things that I think are some pretty serious problems in the world. One of them is climate change, global warming. My understanding of that is that even if we were to stop all emitting all greenhouse gases, the gases that we have released are going to continue to affect the atmosphere for hundreds and hundreds of years to come. So even if we stop now, we wouldn't see the effects of that reversal in our lifetime, for sure. And we haven't even seen the negative effects yet. I think about that a lot, but I don't let it bother me, because I'm well aware that even while this is going on, that I am fully capable of creating the reality that I want. And that has been my experience. That, there's all kinds of horrible things going on. I mean, I live here, right next to LAX. And I live in a nice, town. But if I go a couple miles in that direction, I'm in South Central LA. And there's all kinds of nasty, horrible, stuff going on there. I don't waste time thinking about that. I don't live there. I live here because I choose to live here. So same kind of thing. I'm not talking about denial either, because there are people who are in, for instance, really messed up, codependent, dysfunctional relationships. They're in abusive relationships. And, I could get into all that, why they're addicted and attached to whoever they're with. And it's easy for me to say that what you need to do is stop being with that person and go, but, they have to work through their issues and they can't let go that easily. But when they, a lot of them will work really hard to talk about how, no, everything is fine and everything is good. And I'm not going to look at the negative. I'm going to look at the positive, and that's different. That's denial. That's denial because it's too frightening to face what you need to get rid of. And then, there's no, you're the one that chooses to be in that situation. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but that's my attempt. Cosmo Joe, questions. I used to try and astral project, but would have bad experiences, so I stopped. But I'm wondering if it wasn't a shamanic journey into the lower self with its unresolved issues and dwarfs. Well, of course it was. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It's both. Because the lower self, in case you're not aware, we're made up of three selves. We have a higher self, which we consider to be the third eye. We have a lower self, I'm touching my navel, where our unconscious and our subconscious minds are. And then we have the middle self, which is where our soul resides. This is where our consciousness is. Our brain, by the way, is not our consciousness. Our brain is the computer through which we interface with three-dimensional reality. And so if somebody has mental or actual physical brain damage, it doesn't mean that their soul is stupid. It just means that they have a less than functioning computer that allows them to interface fully. So your lower self is the gateway to other dimensions. And so if you're, this is why one of the reasons we empower it. So it's not an either or. I remember once when I was meditating and I was doing the practice. If you go up here, if you go to immortality.thunderwizard.com, go to courses.thunderwizard.com and look at the immortality link. I was practicing that. And I got into a very, very deep meditative shamanic, I don't know if it was it felt like it might have been an out-of-body experience, but the experience that I had, the short version is that I became aware that whenever I was looking out into the sky, I wasn't looking outside of me, I was looking into myself. And that everything outside of you is inside of you. But that means that you go into your lower self. So it's not an either or. This is what the intellect does. The intellect makes things, either or. This is the meditative mind sees things holographically. The intellect sees things in black and white. So this is Cosmo Joe's thing. We work a lot together. At least I do with him to help him see things objectively from his mind as opposed to from his intellect. So, Jedi Black Knight question: can the upper Dantian, meaning this area here, can the upper Dantian be directly connected with the middle Dantian? Does Celestial Qigong help accomplish such an outcome? Well, I can tell by your questions that that's what you want to have happen. Why? That sends up some red flags for me. Why do you want to bypass your lower Dantian, your navel center, your unconscious? Why do you want to do that? What fear do you have that you need to do that? Or what desire do you have to get super spiritual right away? I just want to go from here to here. That's what comes up when I read that. The short answer is no. It's a triune thing: heaven, earth, and man. Odin, Vili, and Ve. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Everywhere you go, mind, body, spirit. There's always three dimensions. It takes three dimensions to create the whole. So they're all interconnected. The short answer is that if you want that, then you clean up the lower self, and the lower self will immediately connect you. The lower self is, the higher self. We get information from the higher self, which is transmitted to the lower self. The lower self sends that to the middle self. That's an instantaneous process, unless you have unresolved unconscious psychological issues, unless you are actively seeking to divert yourself from your true path, unless you are in conflict with yourself about following your true path. That's the only time that this becomes blocked and it becomes a lengthy process. But human beings left to themselves in their ideal state, this is an instantaneous communication. Information comes to the higher self sends it to the lower self, which sends it to the soul. You don't want to break that up. If you did that, it would be like chopping off an arm. You wouldn't be able to function. Okay, so Celestial Qigong can help accomplish this only because by doing Celestial Qigong, go up here, courses.thunderwizard.com, you'll see where Celestial Qigong is. By doing Celestial Qigong, you have another avenue to clean your lower self so that it becomes what it's meant to be, which is a servant. It's incredibly powerful. You don't want to take your power away. Your lower self is your power. You don't want to lose that. Not. Question. Do you think there is a relationship between anxiety, bracket, physical symptoms of panic attacks, unbracket, and suffering? Do I think there's a relationship between anxiety and physical suffering? Yeah. Does anxiety say something about our perception of our individual reality? Yeah, Of course it does. You wouldn't be having anxiety if you didn't perceive your universe to be threatening to you. So of course you perceive things a certain way, and it's causing you anxiety. I talk about it a lot. If you go onto my channel, you might type in back pain. Again, let me please say, please figure out the difference between searching YouTube and searching somebody's YouTube channel. I won't get into it, but please put the effort into figuring that out. Don't be a sheep. Don't just let YouTube tell you what to watch next. My channel, go onto my channel and learn how to search within my channel. While you're there, you can type in the for back pain, because I do a video about that. But there is something called tension myositis syndrome. And tension myositis syndrome says that when you are in emotional conflict and you have rage, which most of us have rage. If you have anxiety, you probably have rage too. You're not aware of it though. But when there is something that you are so conflicted about that it is intolerable to your conscious mind, then your brain will push that down into your unconscious because it's trying to protect you. And then that won't work because the problems still want to rise up into your conscious awareness. For instance, I've given an example. Let's say you have a bad marriage and you live with a wife who doesn't want you to become a musician, and that's your greatest desire. She wants you to stay a banker so that you can make a lot of money and give her jewels and all that. And she tells you what to do, and she's really hot, so you do what she wants because you're afraid of being alone and all that. Well, you're going to have a lot of rage about that. You're going to have a lot of unconscious emotional conflict about it. But you've decided that, no, I'm going to stay here and this is the way it is, and I'm a good person and I committed to her. So you push it down into your unconscious mind, but it tries to bubble up and it causes you anxiety. Your brain says, okay, we have to stop this because if he becomes aware of this, then he might destroy this relationship, and he believes that's what's best for him. So we have to divert him from that. And what ends up happening is people get back pain. They get headaches. They get migraines. They get all kinds of other things. Tendinitis. I had that for years. I was in a horrific marriage. I don't have any tendinitis whatsoever now. I mean, my knee used to swell up like a watermelon, and I couldn't walk. And I was told, oh, it's because you did this sport and you did that sport. Nope, I was unconsciously full of rage at myself for staying in a relationship that didn't fulfill me. And when I left that relationship and I started doing what I wanted to do, regardless of the physical pain, then it left. And this is tension myositis syndrome. So anxiety can be tension myositis syndrome. If what you're asking me is, can anxiety cause you physical illness? Absolutely. It means you need to get a reading from me to take a look at what it is you really want to do, career.thunderwizard.com. And it takes me about an hour. Actually, it doesn't take me long at all. Usually within a few minutes, I can figure out what it is you really want to do. But it takes me about an hour to help break down your unconscious resistance and fear to it. Then you got to follow through. But anyway, so yes, short answer is yes. Gremnor Thomas. Okay, why does wizards, if true, travel with a staff? I'm hesitating because I'm not stimulated to answer that question. It's not on the subject. It doesn't feel like, feels like you're just trying to pull a question out of your ass. Nothing personal. I can talk about it. Women actually are the staff carriers in the Germanic tradition. So sorry about that, Gremnar. I'm just not really motivated to answer that question today. Thundra. She asks, do we each have an avatar we can connect to? I don't know what you mean by avatar. In Vedic astrology, the astrology that I teach, look up here, go to astrology.thunderwizard.com or go to courses.thunderwizard.com and click on the link for astrology. In Vedic astrology, there, as you know, Thundra, there is a thing called the Arudha, which means your projection. Oops. This is your avatar. If you want to connect to an avatar, your idealized self, like when we create video games like that, we create an avatar, and it's a fantasy self that we want to put into a virtual reality. We have that here. It's called the Arudha. It is the key to our success, and it's not who you are. I'm sitting here in my costume, my shaved head, and I've got my sleeveless shirt on, and this is because I am, all of my stuff here. I am the spiritual warrior. That is my avatar. When I interact with the world through my avatar, people want to give me money, they want to hire me, they want to be my friend. They're not seeing the true me. They're seeing my avatar. All right, let's see here. Jason Guerrero question. Has the universe progressed exactly as it has needed to? So remember, let's backtrack. Everything starts with an assumption. Religion, for example. This is why I say don't try to get into a conversation with a born-again Christian, because they are masters at manipulating the conversation, and they get you to accept assumptions that you don't really believe. For instance, what they're going to want to do is they're going to want to get you to talk about a certain scripture. They're going to say, in the Bible it says, and then they're going to quote a scripture. And then what's going to happen is, instead of acknowledging the assumption of that, which is the Bible is the true word of God, that it is a valid source material, instead of addressing that, then you will say, well, but is that what that meant? I don't think Jesus meant that. Now you're in their ballpark and they've got you by the balls. And they are going to toss you around because they have been practicing and they know exactly how to throw one verse into another. And as long as you start with the assumption that the Bible is the inherent word of God, they have you by the balls because they know how to play in that game. But if you destroy that assumption by saying, they quote, John 3:16, you say, I don't believe the Bible is the inherent word of God. And then whatever they throw at me, say, until we establish whether or not the Bible is just written by people or written by God, we have nothing to talk about. So you first have to, and then there's really no place for them to go. So you are making an assumption here. Has the universe progressed exactly as it needed to? Or could things have progressed better? Do you hear the assumption in that? You are focused on God's will. I know you're not thinking in those terms, but this is where this comes from. You have this belief that there is a best way for the universe to progress, and you're trying to figure out how that is. And I know because you're the one that asked the question earlier about, is it possible that somebody's joy is to become a serial killer? And you were the one that was saying, I believe it was you were the one that was saying that if you really think about the idea that people who cause evil actually create the evolution of the universe. So that argument goes like this, and this is a way we justify our nonsense. Let's say somebody does something horrible to you. Like, for instance, let me just talk about myself. I had an older brother. He was 5 years older than me. So that means, as a kid, he was huge. And he was a big, strong guy. He was like the toughest guy in the neighborhood. And he used to bully the crap out of me. But from that, I learned all kinds of self-empowerment and being responsible for myself, and it toughened me up in a lot of ways. Now, it could have gone a lot of other ways, but because of the choices that I made, it helped me a lot. Now, it would be very easy for me to say, well, that had to happen that way, because if he hadn't have done that to me, then I wouldn't have learned what I know now. And that's really just a justification. It's a justification for that. The truth is that my brother had the ability to treat me differently. And I know why he did it. It was because I was born, when he was 4 and 5 years old, and he was no longer the baby, and he never really matured out of that. And he never got over the fact that I was the baby, and in his mind, I got all of the attention. He still blames me. He blames me for his life-threatening physical illness. He says I gave that to him because I caused him all kinds of stress because of, he never got out of that immature mindset. But I still would have been a phenomenal person no matter what, because I chose throughout my life to interact with the world. And I could have chosen, like him, to be a victim. He's homeless now. I could have chosen to be a victim. I chose not to be. So your question is assuming that these horrible things had to happen, because if they didn't, then we wouldn't learn this, and then the universe wouldn't evolve. And what that tells me is that, at least on an unconscious level, you are really grappling with some trauma that happened to you. And you're trying to justify it because you can't tolerate the thought of being in an unjust, evil, horrific world. This is why you're asking questions about serial killers. Now, we don't spend time thinking about sharks, unless you're Donald Trump, apparently. But there are serial killers out there, where I go surfing, and they eat people. There are animals that eat people. They're just like serial killers. They see us as prey, and they won't think twice about tackling us and tearing our guts out and eating us. Serial killers do the same thing. Why aren't we spending time thinking about how evil those sharks are, or those tigers, or those grizzly bears, or rattlesnakes, or spiders? You're not thinking about them, but they are just, if not more, of a threat to your life than serial killers. We don't call those animals evil, but we call people evil. See what I mean? So this is why I don't spend time thinking about that, because there's all kinds of ways. I could walk out in the street. There could be, all kinds of things could happen. I don't waste my time thinking about that. I only think about how to create the best life that I can. My experience is that I've always been protected when I think like that. Like I lived through the Los Angeles riots. I was in Hollywood in my theater rehearsing when the LA riots, whenever the hell that was in the 90s, erupted, and I had to pick my way home through the fires. Like, there were fires and there were people and I had to pick my way home through all that and drive all the way out to West LA, and we could see the fires making its way from, central Los Angeles down. I've always been protected. So has the universe progressed exactly as it has needed to? Or could things have progressed better? You're still on this good versus bad thing, and what I'm saying to you, and what I've been saying since yesterday, is you create your own universe. Other people create their own universe, and we live in a hologram where we can see other people creating their universe and our universe coexisting. Why is it just one universe that has only one list of here's how things have to go. Again, you're thinking in terms of God's will. It was God's will that Hitler and the Nazis rose, because if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't know the nature of evil. And so because of that, many people have come to accept Jesus Christ, and they are saved from eternal damnation. God allowed evil. God created evil. That's how you're thinking. And, it's okay for you to struggle with that, but you're never going to be able to ask me that question in a way, and I'm never going to co-sign that assumption that there's one way to do it. And why wasn't, I'm never going to go on that train with you. So he says, I'm asking with regards to accepting my reality as is, or holding it to a higher standard. Why do you need to hold your reality to a higher standard? The only thing that matters is, are you fulfilled? Are you happy? And again, as I said in my response to you on one of the video comments section, I said, your question makes me question whether or not you know what your true happiness is. Because when you know what your true happiness is, you don't spend time thinking about anything else. You go after what you want. I want to move to Australia because the weather's better and the surfing is better and there's less crowds. I loved it there. Now, right now, the Australian government doesn't want to let me become a citizen, but I'm still going to go and vacation there for as long as I can. I'm going to bounce back and forth between Australia and New Zealand. Why? Because I'm thinking about the surfing. I'm not thinking about anything else. Okay, so I asked you earlier, it makes me want to ask you, have you done any of the practices that I teach? And the reason why I asked that is because, you're in your head. You're in your head because you have some really uncomfortable feelings. And I know you may not be consciously aware of that, but trust me, they're there. You've got some major fear and other uncomfortable feelings going on in your unconscious, or you wouldn't be so obsessed with whether or not the universe is progressing or evil and all that other stuff. But the reason why I asked you, have you done the practices that I teach, is because talking only gets you so far. You have to experience it. This is why I teach Qigong. Go to courses.thunderwizard.com and look at Celestial Qigong. That's why I teach the energy practice, because it gets you out of your head and connects you to this magnificently powerful healing universe. And then you don't care whether other people are doing that or not. You know how to heal yourself. And then you can see, well, people are in misery because they're choosing to be. And you understand that, so you know how to make choices to keep yourself out of that. Okay? All right. Al D. If you want to ask me a question, please write the word question. Otherwise, I might miss it. And that's the whole point. I don't want to miss your question. What is your advice for someone that is, quote, suffering from anxiety, unquote, because of childhood trauma? My first piece of advice to you is to get counseling. You can't do it alone. You need help. Get into support groups. You can't do it alone. I've been in some sort of self-help or counseling for almost 40 years now. And I'm not so full of myself to think that I can do it by myself. I can't. I need to have people that can support me. I need to have somebody who can see me objectively. They're not better or worse than I am, but they're just able to see me objectively. And they can help me through what it is. The second thing I would suggest is, and you say, how do you help someone? Asking me, how do I help someone get rid of that anxiety? Through counseling. I may give you, first thing I would do is I would recommend that you have a session with me where I look at your Vedic astrological chart. So you go here and you'll see where to go get an astrology chart from me. And then I will find out I'll find out some things, but more importantly, I'll find out what energies are really working to help you in this life, and I'll create a ritual and a mantra so that you can energetically align your unconscious and your mind towards what helps you. And then we would talk, and I would help you determine what it is you truly want. Second thing I would teach you is how to find what it is you truly want. If you have anxiety because of childhood issues, guaranteed I know that you have been given information, you have been programmed in a way that conflicts you with what your soul wants, and this is what the anxiety is really rooted in. You're fighting with yourself over what it is you want to do versus what you think you're supposed to do. And I would help you with that. And this is, a long-term process. I'm not looking for more long-term clients, but, there's really no way around it. At some point, I'm going to turn the apprenticeship back the way it used to be, which was if somebody wants to be my apprentice, they have to work with me once a week. Because you need to have somebody continuously reflecting back to you what your inaccurate thinking is so that you can align yourself. It takes time. You can't just change overnight, unfortunately. So that would be my, off the top of my head, what I can help you with. Jason Guerrero says, that was a different guy. I was the unconsciously empowered, I am safe guy. I don't know what that means. Are you saying you're in denial? Anyway, I'm not sure what that means. Well, anyway, you got me thinking about the other guy, and in any case, I still think there's some truth to what I said. If you're asking, has the universe progressed exactly as it has needed to, I think that starts from a faulty assumption. It starts from a dualist assumption. But really, the only question isn't what the universe has or hasn't done. The only question is, am I happy, and what do I need to do to become happy? The rest of it is meaningless. Past is meaningless. Future is meaningless. The only thing we have is the right now. And that's the only thing you have any control over. Zero Z question. Do you think news is a compass? I have no idea what that means. Can't even comment on it because I don't know what the hell you're asking me. I don't know what the hell that means. Jedi Black Knight question. Which rune in your experience gives the best insight into one's true aura? Again, the same kind of thing. The runes are infinite. So, trying to find the best, the one, get out of that kind of thinking. That's control, intellectual kind of thinking. I'm looking for the one. The rune that gives the best insight into your orlog is the one that you're working with right now, whichever one you choose to work with. Each one of the runes is like the deities. Each one of the runes is a gateway to all the rest of the runes. So even if, you're working with Raito, and that's not the rune that's going to open up the awareness, working with Raito will guide you to the rune that you need. Yeah, so, I want to address that kind of thinking. Looking for the best, the fastest, the most efficient. That kind of thinking, again, I'll say it again. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Kung Fu student goes to the master and says, Sifu, I want to become a black sash as quickly as possible. How long will it take me to get my black sash if I practice 1 hour a day every day? He says, that'll take you 10 years. And the student says, oh, that's not fast enough. What if I practice 2 hours a day every day? Teacher goes, then it'll take you 20 years. Stick with the basics. Whatever stick with the now. Be okay with not having everything, being everything. Work with what's right in front of you because it never ends. The learning never ends. We never get to a place where it stops. Sometimes you go, this I tell myself, even though I know it's not entirely true, if I'm finding myself anxious and wanting to have more of this, I say, Mike, this is as good as it gets. Be right here. And the other thing I say is anything could change at any moment. Just keep doing what you're doing. Everything could change in a heartbeat. Okay? All right. Those are some good questions. I think there was something I wanted to say. I can't remember what it was. I'll take a short break here and come back, and then we can talk some more. I'm going to talk about in here certifications, and now you only have one place, one-stop shop for all of the certifications and all of the teachings and everything else. Go to courses.thunderwizard.com. In case you're new to the channel, if you want to support this channel, go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe at the $25 level. That will give you access to the master class Thunder Shamanism teaching. I don't even know how many hundreds of videos are on there that will teach you true shamanism from the ground up. Okay, so I will be right back. So you are a spiritual seeker, a spiritual practitioner, and you want to work from home, you want to work for yourself, and like me, you want to make money doing something that you would do anyway. I have two avenues for you to make money doing what you would do anyway. The first is Astrology Certification.thunderwizard.com. You can learn my specific, very unique niche of Vedic astrology, and then if you become certified, I will put you on the astrology.thunderwizard.com page, and people will see your beautiful face. They'll click on you and they can get a reading from you. Like I said, this is easily the most profitable service that I have in my arsenal for myself. Then you'll get your own webpage, joeschmo.thunderwizard.com, and people can go there when you want to give out readings. Now, if you have other things that you want to list on there too, you dog sit, you are a masseuse, you do tarot readings, I don't care what it is. As long as you give me the information, I'll put it on your page. People go to joeschmo.thunderwizard.com, they can see everything that you do. There's another way that you can make money as a thunderwizard.com student, and that is runereadings.thunderwizard.com. Same thing applies there. If you become certified, there's over 36 hours of rune videos that I have on there. All of my rune videos, both public and private, that you can learn from. If you become certified, then I will put you on the runereadings.thunderwizard.com page, and once again, you will get your own page, joeschmo.thunderwizard.com. If you're already an astrologer, you'll have your astrology information, your rune reading information, whatever other things that you want to promote for yourself. Listen, I am not here just to sit here and teach. I'm here to create teachers, and I'm here to teach people who are called to do so to make a good living, sharing the information that they would study on their own anyway. That's how I make my living. I can teach you how to do that. These are two ways to do it. So if you want to get started with that, go to astrologycertification.thunderwizard.com if you want to become an astrologer. If you want to become a rune reader, go to runecertification.thunderwizard.com. Okay, enjoy the video. All right, so I want to talk to you now some more about this. I wanted to talk about this earlier, and I've shared this at other times on the channel, but I'll share it again with you. I forget the guy's name, but he's one of the major guys that teaches Huna, which is Hawaiian shamanism. If you get a chance to look into it, there's some garbage out there, but there's some really good stuff about Huna, H-U-N-A. Matthew Freedom Long, I think the guy's name is, wrote some books on it. Anyway, there is a guy, I forget his name, he's in Hawaii. He's not Hawaiian, I think he's Japanese. And some of you listening may know who I'm talking about. But here's the story as I remember it, but it definitely expresses what I'm trying to teach here. So this guy is a psychologist as well as a Huna practitioner. And there was an insane asylum, I believe, in Northern California, maybe around San Francisco, I'm not sure. And in this insane asylum, there were some really, really screwed up people, like really violent. And they were so violent that they had to do things like chain them to the wall, and otherwise, as you walk by, they'd like bite your ear off or something. They were just horrific. So they were at their wits' end trying to find some kind of treatment for these people. So they reach out to this doctor because they had heard that he had done miraculous things with people. And so he's in Hawaii and they're in Northern California, and they contact him and they say, can you help us? We have these patients that we can't do anything with. And he says, yes, I can help you. Send me their charts. And they say, great, we'll do that. When can you be here? And he says, oh, I'm not coming there. And they said, what do you mean you're not coming here? How are you going to be able to help them if you're not going to work with them? And he says, trust me, just send me their charts and I will do everything from here. So they were desperate, so they sent him the charts. And then lo and behold, these people started getting better. So much so that, according to the way I heard it, some of the worst cases were set free in their own recognizance. And when they asked him, what did you do? How did you heal them? He said, I didn't heal them. I healed me. And he said, what I would do is I would look at their charts, and when I would read about so-and-so biting off somebody's ear or, throwing his feces on the wall or whatever, he said, if I had an emotional judgment about them, I would then fix that within myself, because I know that they are just projections of something that's unresolved in me. And if I have judgments about them, I have judgments about myself. And so I would, and there's a Huna prayer that says, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Which he says is not about healing them. It's about fixing what he calls the bad data, which is like saying that your hard drive has some fragments, that you defrag your own hard drive and then everything works better. And he says, if I can clear up my projection of them in myself, they have to get better because they are just projections from inside of me. And same guy, and somebody was talking to him about something about, well, what do I do about the problems outside of me? And he says, there is nothing outside of you. Everything comes from you. Now, this is hard for us to hear because we hear, well, he's not God, he's not controlling me. That's not what he's saying. For him, he lives in a hologram where everything is his own projection. And at the same time, you have your own projection. And we live in this hologram where we create each other and we create ourselves. So the point is, you don't even have to understand it. All you need to know is that if you can take responsibility for your external reality and everything and everyone in it, and say, I have created them, I take full responsibility for that, and get out of the victim mentality, then you can start creating what you want. Now, in my experience, that doesn't mean that people are going to change necessarily, because being a psychiatrist and a psychologist is different than being in a personal relationship. It doesn't mean that people are going to change to the way I want them to be. I can't control them. But what it does mean is that I will resolve whatever conflicts I have within me that have drawn me to people who are less than ideal. And when I change that within me, they will either leave my life, or I will get the strength to leave them, or like in the case of this example, then we get to grow together. But it starts with me taking full responsibility for everything in my life, believing that I can have my greatest happiness and trusting that that will happen. And then that belief and that trust will give me the ability to take action towards it no matter how difficult or unrealistic or impractical or whatever. I'll go after it. And that's how you create your reality. It's the combination of that awareness combined with taking conscious action that creates your true reality. Okay, so I wanted to talk about that earlier on and I forgot. Let's see if we have any questions here. 0Z question, is there such a thing as an unconscious ego? So it sounds to me like you're new to my channel, right? So I recommend that you spend time going onto my channel and watching my videos, because I will have answered that. To be honest, your question, I'm sure it makes sense to you, but I hear it and it sounds like nonsense to me. I don't know what you mean by an unconscious ego. You have an unconscious and you have an ego. You've got some assumptions about what an ego is, and I can't tell what that is by this question. So I would recommend that you watch my videos to learn what it is that I teach, the definitions of the things that I teach, read my books, watch my videos, practice the meditations, so that when you come on and ask a question, you can ask a question that in my ears will sound like an intelligent question based on what I teach. But from that, it doesn't sound like you've really studied what I teach. And I don't understand what your question is, to be honest with you. And I wondered, are you smoking some weed right now? Because you sound a little stuck in your head. Maybe you're not. But it's also better to interact with me, anybody listening, from a sober mindset. You'll get more out of what I teach from a sober mindset. Anyway, I don't know anything about you, whether you are or you aren't, but it made me think that. Jason Guerrero, question. Am I exactly where I should be to manifest my destiny? Or am I screwing up? Dualistically, there is room for improvement, but non-dualistically, where I am perfect and I should trust. Boy, are you stuck in your head. You are really stuck up here. Makes me want to ask you the same thing. Have you practiced the meditations that I teach? Have you gotten a reading from me? Have you watched my videos? Have you read my books? Because you are really stuck in your head, my friend. What do you want me to say? I mean, when people say you're exactly where you're supposed to be, all that does is it gives you the feeling of being comfortable so that then you can start making some quality choices in your life. That's all that does for you. If I say to you, you're screwing up, then that may make you feel guilty, and that may drive you deeper into taking actions that are harmful for you. On the other hand, if I am in the right spot and I know how to deal with you, and I say, hey man, wake up, you are really screwing up right now. What you need to be doing is this. That might spur you to take conscious, constructive action. The only thing that matters is what you are doing. And the only thing that matters in terms of what you are doing is, are you taking constructive action towards your greatest happiness? I don't care if you're screwing up. My brother, I talk about my brother. My brother's homeless. And I know why he's homeless. There's all kinds of things that he could have done differently, and there's all kinds of things he could be doing differently now. And I could come to him and I could say, I won't give you his name. John, you're exactly where you belong. You've gone through all of this so you could learn these lessons. You've gone through all this pain so you would know what all the mistakes were, and now it's time for you to go and get your life together. And here's how you do it. If I say that to him and that stimulates him to take constructive action, then it's the right thing to say. If I tell him he's a screw up and he'll never make it, which is what's going on in his head all the time, then he might stay where he is and he'll continue to, die on the street. I don't know. But when I hear that question, it makes me wonder, if you and I have worked together, because If anybody works with me, they're going to lose that kind of thinking very quickly. It also sounds like you're stuck in your head. And again, this is my thing. It makes me, maybe it's my obsession, makes me want to ask you, how much weed do you smoke? Because that's the kind of thing that, weed will put you into that dualistic thinking. And you think you're being really deep, but you're not. You're not thinking very deeply at all. So room for improvement sounds like you're trying to meet somebody, you're trying to be a good person. I don't care about room for improvement. I only care about one thing. Am I happy? And if I'm happy, then I'm doing what I need to do to make myself happy. I don't need to improve or anything. I just need to be happy. If I'm happy, but there's some other stuff that I want, and I want to improve my happiness, then I take action to improve that. That's why I'm, getting rid of all my stuff, and I'm going to go travel to Australia and bounce between Australia and New Zealand because I want to surf really good waves. And while I'm doing that, I'm hoping that I will manifest a way to either find a place to, way to live out there, or get it out of my system and come back and move to, San Diego County and live on the beach and surf out the rest of my life. I don't know. I know what actions I need to take to make myself more happy. I'm not thinking about if I need to improve or not. There's a lot of dualist thinking, a lot of judgmental thinking, a lot of monotheist style thinking in these questions. So, and at the end here you say, but non-dualistically, again, dualistically, non-dualistically, where I am perfect and I should trust. The last word is the only real valuable word in there, which is trust. I don't give a shit if you're thinking dualistically or non-dualistically. Trust is where you start from. But trust to stay exactly where you are and not do anything, that tells me that you don't know what you want. Trust to take the action to go get what you want. And if you don't know what you want, then you need to have a session with me and I'll help you figure it out. Jason Guerrero. No, that was the same thing. Yeah, so your pal, what's your name here? Your pal Parsifal. Listen, this is a question and answer. So if you want to be a constructive part of this, then write a question. I'm not interested in anything else, so I'm going to do that. Jason Guerrero, thank you. He says thank you, so you're welcome. Okay. All right. I don't see any more questions at the moment. I'm not thinking of anything that I need to talk about right now. So give me a couple minutes and I'll be right back. Real esoteric spirituality without all of the fluff, without all of the nonsense. This is the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. Click subscribe and then hit the little bell button so that you can be notified whenever I've uploaded a video or when I'm doing the live Q&A videos. All right, let me see if there are any questions since I've been back. No, I don't see any questions. All right, so let's talk about the devil for a moment. And I know that probably those of you who are watching probably consciously don't believe in a devil. But I want you just to examine yourself for a moment. Is there a part of you? Is there a part of you that fears that there's some evil out there, lurking out there? Is there a part of you that sees the universe as being cruel or empty or unloving? The devil is probably the most important being for Christianity, maybe monotheism in general. Because without the devil, it all falls apart, all of it. And so if we can get rid of the idea that the devil exists, then we'd never have to deal with whether or not we need, whether sin exists or whether we need a savior. We don't need to think in this dualistic kind of thinking. And, you know, there was a point in time I remember where even though I was a shaman and even though I was a polytheist, I really started grasping with the thought of, what if there is nothing? There's nothing out there that's created any of this, that started any of this. I still don't think, I'm not thinking about it like that now, but I went through that, and it was, when I thought about the emptiness of the universe, it was really frightening to me. I eventually came to the realization that I did not see the universe as being empty. But I tell you what I don't, meaning that I believe that there is something underneath it that is the source of all of the gods, of all of the energies, of all of us. But at the same time, we are the expression of that energy. So we are God. Each one of us is God, if you want to use that term. So the idea is, if there is an all-powerful, all-loving God, why is there so much suffering? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make any sense because you're God. The real question is, since I'm God, why have I created all this suffering in the universe? Which really means, why am I thinking about it? Because if you're not creating it, you're aware of it, but you're creating your own perfect reality. And that's the other question, which is, how do we help others? In my experience, the best way to help others is to give yourself your greatest fulfillment, your greatest happiness. Because all of the evil in the world, all of the poverty, all of the sickness, all of that is a result of one thing. It's a result of people not trusting their connection to the universe and doing things out of fear. Violence comes from fear. So to answer the other guy's question, who apparently isn't watching, who asked me yesterday, what if somebody's greatest joy is to become a serial killer? I think about this a lot, and does that create the evolution for the universe? And there is no joy in anything that causes destruction. There's no joy in there. So the answer is that it's impossible for somebody to have their greatest joy be to harm others. It just doesn't happen. Serial killers, thieves, con men, anybody who preys upon other people and gets their sustenance off of other people in any way. These are people who, number one, believe that they are unloved. Because if they felt loved by the universe, if they felt that they trusted their connection to the universe, they would never think to themselves that they have to do anything to anybody else to get what they want. You know that you are the source for everything in your life. So, my teacher has a really great phrase when it comes to relationships, because that makes me think about, along these lines about relationships. What about when you're in love with somebody and you need them? And he says that there's a great way to see whether or not you're in a healthy relationship or a dysfunctional relationship, which is if you say, I need you because I love you, or I love you because I need you. So I need you because I love you means that first you created more of an unconditional love for falling in love with who that person was. That creates a bond, which then creates a need. That's a healthy relationship. Unhealthy relationship, let me see. I need you because I love you is the healthy one. I love you because I need you means that first you need something outside of yourself. And when I say this, if this strikes a chord in you, I'm not judging you because I've been there and I go there still. So if you feel like you need something outside of you to make you feel okay, that's coming from a place of fear, a place of lack, and you can choose to change that. You may not be able to change the feeling, but you can change the attitude. And so I love you because I need you means that you first are operating from a need, which then creates a love. And then that's when people start tearing each other apart. That's, by the way, the whole twin flame thing. That whole twin flame thing where you've got your twin flame who reflects all your negative things and you burn each other's karma. It's really just a justification, a spiritualization of just a dysfunctional relationship you need to walk away from. Because the universe is set up to give you one thing, which is your greatest joy. If you choose not to follow that, that's your choice. And that is the creation of evil. So when we talk about, is there a devil? If there is a devil, it's in you. And that devil is nothing more than the result of your not going after what your infinite soul wants. And you have to justify why you're miserable. And so we create a devil. And in some cases, people become extremely evil. And it's for the same reason. All right, babbling on and on. I'll check to see if there's any questions, and if not, I will call it an evening. I don't see any questions, so we must be running out of things to say. All right, my friends, thank you so much. That's it for me this weekend. Again, I recommend everybody listening to go to courses.thunderwizard.com and check out all the links. People email me and ask me, how much does a reading cost? And I say, go to the link. I've even given people links, like multiple links in the emails, and they say, oh yeah, how much does that cost? How much does that cost? I'm like, I put it in the links. Follow the links, go to the websites. If you want to find out everything that I'm doing, go to courses.thunderwizard.com. If you want to support this channel, go to thunderwizard.com and sign up as a subscriber, a $25 subscriber. And that will get you access to all the videos. Some people sign up at $5, and I appreciate the sentiment, but it doesn't give them anything. That $5 a month gives them no access to any of the private videos that are only on the thunderwizard.com site. It's good for me because it gives me an understanding of what I've got each month to work with, which tells me how much time can I spend making videos and how much time do I need working with clients. And I'd prefer to spend as much time as possible just doing these videos and doing the Naga conspiracy videos and writing books and creating more courses for you. So the more people we get to the thunderwizard.com, subscribing at the $25 level, the more goodies and gifts I can give to all of you. All right, that is it for me this weekend. Thank you so much. And I will see you later. First caught my attention about Celestial Qigong was how incredibly simple and easy to do the moves were. My teachers taught me that the most advanced high-level energy work was always incredibly simple. I have been practicing and teaching Celestial Qigong for over 25 years. And listen, I could tell you what the benefits have been for me, but why don't I let you hear it from some of my students, average people just like you, who have been practicing this ancient and transformative energy practice that I call Celestial Qigong.
Hi, my name is Antonia, and I want to start with emphasizing that I'm not being paid for this testimony. I felt the benefits of it after my first session. But what really blown my mind was how powerful this practice is. Was one night when I was really sick, I caught a flu. I couldn't breathe, I was tired, I was fatigued, my bones were hurting. And after I was finished with my clothes done, the sickness was gone. I was no longer feeling tired or sick or fatigued. My bones weren't hurting anymore. I could breathe. I was energized and super happy, and it was like magic. It really was.
Hello, I'm Greg. I wanted to talk about Celestial Qigong and what it has done for me. And the first time I did it, and I think after about 3 or 4 movements, I remember this look on my face going, whoa, I'm feeling a lot of energy here. Wow, this is amazing. It really helped me to start having visions. I mean, I'm talking about actual visions right behind my closed eyelids. And it's just really amazing what it's done for me.
Hi, I wanted to make a quick video of a testimony of my experiences with Celestial Qigong, which have been nothing short of miraculous and amazing. It is a peace, a union, the ability to manifest what I want, that I am in true total control of my life.
Hello, my name is Maclovia. I have been practicing Celestial Qigong for about 6 months because I was having depression. It has connected me to my higher self. My 9-year-old does it with me, and he says every night, "Mom, Qigong was good tonight."
Every night, me and my mom do it. It's like a protection spell. Yeah, I just want to thank you. This has really been good for me. Thank you.
So, you are a spiritual seeker, a spiritual practitioner, and you want to work from home, you want to work for yourself, and like me, you want to make money doing something that you would do anyway. I have 2 avenues for you to make money doing what you would do anyway. The first is Astrology Certification.thunderwizard.com. You can learn my specific, very unique niche of Vedic astrology. And then if you become certified, I will put you on the astrology.thunderwizard.com page, and people will see your beautiful face. They'll click on you and they can get a reading from you. Like I said, this is easily the most profitable service that I have in my arsenal for myself. Then you'll get your own webpage, joeschmo.thunderwizard.com, and people can go there when you want to give out readings. Now, if you have other things that you want to list on there too, you dog sit, you are a masseuse, you do tarot readings, I don't care what it is. As long as you give me the information, I'll put it on your page. People go to joeschmo.thunderwizard.com, they can see everything that you do. There's another way that you can make money as a thunderwizard.com student, and that is runereadings.thunderwizard.com. Same thing applies there. If you become certified, there's over 36 hours of rune videos that I have on there. All of my rune videos, both public and private, that you can learn from. If you become certified, then I will put you on the runereadings.thunderwizard.com page, and once again, you will get your own page, joeschmo.thunderwizard.com. If you're already an astrologer, you'll have your astrology information, your rune reading information, whatever other things that you want to promote for yourself. Listen, I am not here just to sit here and teach. I'm here to create teachers, and I'm here to teach people who are called to do so to make a good living sharing the information that they would study on their own anyway. That's how I make my living. I can teach you how to do that. These are 2 ways to do it. So if you want to get started with that, go to astrologycertification.thunderwizard.com if you want to become an astrologer. If you want to become a rune reader, go to runecertification.thunderwizard.com. Okay, enjoy the video.